This episode of Just the Tip-Sters is sponsored by Clean Spa Bath and Body. That's clean with a K. Cleanspa.com. Clean Spa, prepared to smell delicious.
From the Homestead Studios in Santa Clarita, California, it's Just the Tip-Sters with Melissa Morgan.
Go for Melissa.
If you've got a tip for Melissa, something you've heard through the grapevine, something a little bird told you, where to find a decent list of euphemisms for gossamer rumors, tell us about it by calling the Tipster hotline at 832-TIPSTER. That's 832-847-7837, or send an email to jttipsters@gmail.com. You just might hear your tip on the podcast. And now here's your host, fighting for justice with passion, intensity, and her third Mountain Dew kickstart of the afternoon, Melissa Morgan.
More cowbell. That's how you have to say it when you've had your third Mountain Dew Kickstart Black Cherry of the afternoon.
I see, yes, that
More
makes sense.
cowbell.
Yeah.
It's like very high, like someone's, tweaking your testicles if you had them.
Yeah, or just, tweaking your...
Uterus?
No,
No. What? I don't know. What's a girl version?
I was just going to say that part of the brain that gets stimulated by caffeine.
The
or what.
hypothalamus? Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
hypothalamus.
Yeah.
What- maybe that was it.
Sure.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Cool.
Right.
Cool. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, that's
cool.
it. Yeah,
Cool.
right.
Yeah. I might be on a bit of a caffeinated fruit drink high.
I don't know how you drink that stuff. I mean,
With much joy.
I guess I know, and we absolutely buy out the entire stock of Mountain Dew Kickstart Black Cherry throughout Southern California.
Now, when you say we, what you mean is you. When I find them in any of my searches, I leave one or two just to taunt people.
Oh,
And then I take like 8 or 10.
it was funny when Lowe's used to sell them. I used to just go and get. I used to go and get a whole bunch and just empty out all their refrigerated sections. That had them, and I went in one time and they didn't. They were. I figured. I mean, I bet they have some in stock. So I walked into the store and went up to the customer service counter before I went to the refrigerated sections, and I told the lady, "Hey, listen, I'm. You probably noticed that sometimes all of your Mountain Dew Kickstart Black Cherry are empty." You're the guy, she says. You're the guy. And she calls other people. This is the guy. This is the guy. And I said, well, yeah, do you have any extras? Do you have any extras up in the... And they did. They had a couple of 12 packs. And so I walked out of there with about 70 Mountain Dew Kickstarts. But then every time I came in after that, they saw me coming. And here he is. And they just used to go and get me the 12 packs, and I'd clean out the coolers. And
Well, I have a similar story. Also involving you. I did not understand that places like Lowe's and Home Depot would have refrigerated coolers at the register because, lots of, specialized workers, contractors, get up very early and work really hard and need a little extra kick in the pants. So they have a lot of, the Monster energy drinks
Right.
and a lot of the energy drinks up front. Now, Mountain Dew Kickstart, I'll just fight to the death. It's a fruit drink, or it's 5% fruit. Anyway, it's kind
5%
of you
fruit.
shut the fuck up. Yes, it's 5% fruit. So it's almost like a health drink. It does have caffeine, but it does not, and it's only 80, it does have sugar, but it has so much less sugar than any soft drink because it is still a fruit drink. You shut the fuck up. It's only got 80 calories for 16 ounces. So just a typical, like a small, like a 8-ounce Coke would have 100 calories. So 16 ounces of Mountain Dew Kickstart has 80 calories for double. You get 80. It's like 40 calories a serving. Of course, who only drinks 8 ounces of anything? I drink the entire can. But
times, 2-3 times a day.
You again, shut the fuck up. So I don't do heroin. So I decided to follow in producer Mark's footsteps and go to Lowe's. And I walked into Lowe's, and you had told me that they keep them high on like a top shelf, the
Aisle
extras.
8.
I thought it was aisle 7, but I couldn't remember exactly. I thought it was aisle 7. But so I walked in and went up to customer service and said, hey, there's no Mountain Dew Kickstart Black Cherry in your coolers. My husband, and she goes, oh, that's your husband. Before I finished the sentence. Like, yes, he said they're at the top of aisle 7 or aisle 8. And she goes, yeah, let me get the rolling ladder.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. So
I was famous
you were
at
right.
our local
You
Lowe's.
were
I really was.
totally famous. They probably think that, I have a problem. And I probably do. And you know what? Fuck all y'all. I ain't going to a meeting.
And you know what? PepsiCo is not paying us for this promotional consideration here.
No, they're not.
So I'm going to say this. The stuff tastes like cough medicine to me.
It does not.
Okay.
No. It is the nectar of the gods. And literally now, for the 7th time, you shut the fuck up. It is my beloved. I love this shit.
All right.
And it's getting harder and harder to find. At first they came, for the Jews. And then they came.
No, you're not. No, you didn't.
For Mountain Dew Black Cherry. No, sorry. Mountain Dew Code Red. Diet Mountain Dew Code Red.
Yeah.
And now they're coming for me.
Uh-huh.
And my Mountain Dew Black Cherry Kickstart.
Yeah, and there's no jobber around to protect, PepsiCo jobber around to protect you. Yeah. Okay.
All I know is if I had the Oscar Schindler of Mountain Dew Kickstart Black Cherry, I'd be very happy. That's all I'm saying.
Well, maybe there's somebody out there that feels the same way about it that you do, but probably not.
Yeah, probably not. It's really good shit, though. So, just a few little announcements up front. The Chase Allen Lackey case has really been so overwhelmingly accepted. It's the largest number of downloads that we've had of any of I think we're on 87, 88 episodes at this point. And his family is holding a candlelight vigil on July 1st at 8 p.m. at the Crosby Park ball field where Chase played ball. There is a secondary location in case of rain. It's called the Crawfish Kings, and we'll have the address. We have a flyer on our page, on all of our social media pages, on the Find Chase Allen Lackey page on Facebook, and it's a lovely thing. We're trying to get as many people there as possible just to show support for Chase's family and friends and to shine a light on his case, as well as holding a space and shining a light for him to find his way home. So if you're in the Crosby, the Northeast Houston area on Monday, July 1st at 8 p.m., please be there in support. If you can't be there physically, please be there in your heart and support the Lackey family. So I just wanted to mention that there is the candlelight vigil on July 1st.
I do want to mention that, if anybody listening in the Houston area has anything that you think might help, even if you feel funny calling the police about it, even if you think it's weird, you can call us. And it just so happens by chance that the area code for our Tipster hotline is a Houston area code, 832.
Right. 832-847-7837 or 832-Tipster.
Right. So, and you can call it toll free from where you are.
And it's anonymous.
Yeah,
it's anonymous.
If you just tell us on the recording you don't want us to talk about you or play the recording on the podcast, we will honor that request. But call if you've got some information, even if you think it's just something that nobody would care about.
And even the tiniest detail that you think doesn't matter could be extraordinarily important. And the other nice part of this is that a local business owner in the Houston area has upped the reward. He doubled it from $5,000 to $10,000. So now
which is just magnificent.
Yeah, the reward is now $10,000, and the second anniversary of his going missing is July 1st. So keep a good thought for the candlelight vigil. And again, like producer Mark said, please feel free to call us. Please feel free to call the Harris County Sheriff's Department, the Crime Stoppers. All of the numbers we will have in the show notes, and they're on our social media pages, as well as the flyer, which we have been trying to post. And the last time I looked, it had been shared over 500 times. So that's from Craig, his father's page. That's a fantastic thing. So another small announcement, the ultimately talented Shelby from Beadceptions, that's her Instagram page, it's at Beadceptions, sent some fantastic magnets to us. We have a unicorn, an eyeball, and a bloody knife, a knife dripping blood, and they're amazing. And I'm so ridiculous that I thought it was a unicorn, an eyeball, and a battleship because I had the knife turned upside down. So I thought the dripping blood was red steam coming out of like a submarine. And then Shelby's like, it's a knife dripping blood. I'm like, oh shit, I'm too stupid to live. But once you turn it around, it's definitely a knife dripping blood, and it is amazing. And Tipster Sharon gave us a beautiful magical unicorn candle, which I'm actually burning in the podcast room right now, because it smells delicious and it is magical. So, and we also got a really fantastic email from Tipster Jordan that just made our week. It was short and simple and plain and just fabulous. And we are really grateful for our listeners who are really magical. They're the magic in this podcast, is because there'd be no us without our listeners. And speaking of that, Jennifer Hardaway, our sponsor, has said that our listeners are going to her site and buying her fantastic products, and we could not be more grateful for that. So our sponsor for this episode is indeed CleanSpa. That's cleanspa.com. And CleanSpa carries a full line of original bath and body products that feature dozens of unique fragrances. She offers moisturizers, scrubs, cleanses. And if you go to cleanspa.com, the website, and check out all of their products, including Cooler with a K, that's CleanSpa's cooling hydrating mist that leaves the skin soft and supple and is available in a lot of CleanSpa's unique scents. You can get the Cooler with a K in different scents that really appeal to you. So check out the full product line at cleanspa.com. That's clean with a K, cleanspa.com, and get 15% off your total order by entering promo code Tip-Sters at the checkout. CleanSpa, prepare to smell delicious. So sometimes you find a podcast that appeals to you, and it's not in a genre that you typically listen to, but I really found a lot about this podcast that I adore. And the host is named Mike Burton, and his podcast is called Genuine Chit Chat.
Hi, I'm Mike from the Genuine Chit Chat podcast, where we have honest conversations with interesting people. I speak to a wide variety of guests, including CEOs of businesses, psychologists, authors, musicians, travelers, people suffering with physical and mental illnesses, and everyone in between, where we speak about a large variety of topics, including music and movies and pop culture, but also some more controversial topics, including drug reform, political correctness, and many more. No subject is off limits. You can find us on all the usual podcast places, including Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts, as well as on YouTube. And you can follow us in all the usual social media places. And to be clear, I don't expect everyone listening to enjoy every episode of my show. What I do think is that due to the wide variety of guests and topics, that there'll be at least one episode that each person listening will enjoy. So if you still appreciate the art of conversation and want to hear honest conversations with interesting people, then be sure to check out Genuine Chit Chat in all the usual places.
And Mike is a really terrific host, and his guests are usually really interesting and people I wouldn't necessarily think that I would, glom onto and be fascinated by, and I always am. So it's a really great podcast. I hope you check it out. So this episode is a really interesting case that is fairly new. I typically don't like to cover cases that are this recent, but it's just become even more interesting and more layered as time goes on. And it is back in my home state of Kentucky, which has had some really interesting cases lately of young girls going missing. And I understand this happens everywhere all the time in every state, but I was never aware of the amount of people going missing in just even my home state. And maybe it's because of the prevalence of social media and, the 24-hour news cycle, as they dub it. But it's an interesting time to be alive, to see all of this playing out in front of us, because when you go missing in 2019, as Savannah Spurlock did on January 4th of this year, there's not a lot that you can do, and not a lot of places you can go to hide anymore, unless someone does something to where you cannot get your information out to your family or your friends. It's just an interesting time to be alive. The people involved in this case are on video. I just feel like this is a case of not if it will be solved, but when. And I have really never seen a family or a group of friends band together to come up with such interesting ideas that they have done to get the word out. It's a very fascinating case. So, as I said, Savannah Spurlock, she was 22 years old, a mother of 4. She had 2 sons and had just given birth to twins in December of 2018. And on her mother's advice that she had been, trapped at home with all the kids, all 4 sons, and just had given birth a month earlier, that she go out and have fun with her friends. Her mother offered her her car. She got together with 2 friends, and they traveled to a bar in Lexington called The Other Bar. That's actually the name. And she got dressed up. She looked beautiful. She has on from the video, a black, sort of a short sleeve to sleeveless shirt, maroon skirt, and high heel black shoes, kind of a beige purse. She didn't have her wallet with her. The purse was small, so she probably just had ID and cash and her cell phone. And she went with her friends, met some people. One friend left the bar early because she had a commitment in the morning. And unfortunately, she and her second friend got into an argument, and that friend left too. So Savannah is at the bar and leaves with 3 men at around 2:30 a.m. Now, the video shows 1 tall African-American male and 2 smaller Caucasian males. Now, I will just say that all 3 men within 6 days were identified. All 3 men were questioned. Here's where verbiage in law enforcement changes. There's a lot of talk online about why have these 3 men not been called suspects. I'm not even sure they've been referred to as persons of interest, but it's pretty clear they're at least persons of interests. I think legally you can't say someone's a suspect unless you have some sort of hard evidence. And I don't know what exactly law enforcement needs. This is another one of those cases where I am stumped and furious at the breakdown between jurisdictions of law enforcement. I don't think there needs to be the same semantics or verbiage in every law enforcement agency, but maybe some terms that we can all use and that we can all get familiar with. And suspect, person of interest, those sorts of verbs, those sorts of adjectives or nouns can be used if we all agree on what they mean. So her case, now coming up on its almost 5th month, 4th of July will be the 5-month anniversary of Savannah being missing. And the 3 men who were the last to see her, and if we know anything from our decades of true crime television watching, the last person seen with someone who disappears, large percentage of the time, they, if are not responsible, they sure the hell know something.
And they get questioned pretty aggressively.
Well,
or they should, right?
These men have, this is the oddness of this case to me. These men have been interviewed, another semantic, interviewed at least twice. At least twice.
Each of them.
Each of them. The police were very, very clear about protecting them and not giving out their names or even initials. Obviously, when you're in an area like Lexington, Kentucky or Richmond, Kentucky, you know who someone is. You can figure it out. You don't have to be an armchair sleuth or a citizen detective to figure out, oh, that's who was with her. She was taken from the other bar in Lexington, 40 miles, I guess, south to Girard County, to a house in Girard County, more rural. The house is listed in the name of one of the men's parents. One of the men's parents are the official owners of the home on the title, the deed. There is evidence that Savannah entered that house. There is no evidence that Savannah left that house.
Do we know what the evidence is that she went in?
I'm telling you, I don't know that I've ever seen a case that is held so close to the vest. And the only thing I can think is that the police are being so monumentally careful that if, one piece of information gets out that could potentially harm any sort of a upcoming case, they're just really keeping it close. I mean, there's video of the three men and Savannah leaving the bar.
And that's been made public, right?
Public. And if you know her or know these men, you can figure it out. And they have been figured out. And I'm not quite sure why the large amount of protection and security. From what I can see, none of these men have family members that are so influential they can keep their sons' names out of the press if they've been attached to a missing woman's case. I don't understand. That's what I'm saying. There's a lot about this case that is unique and different, even though it's, from my home state. And not all of it is from the law enforcement side. Some of what's being handled differently is the way her family is handling getting the word out. And it's kind of spectacular and it's unique what they're doing and what they have done. And it's simple and it's genius and it's organic and it's interesting. And I've never seen this put together like this. And the whole thing is fascinating. So I'll explain that the further that we go. So let's go back. This mother of four is happy, cheery, a large part of her family's joy. Her sons, she is a good mother. Her mother says she's a wonderful daughter. She is the one who suggested her daughter go out and have fun. And when her mother woke up at 3:00 on January 4th and saw that Savannah wasn't home, she called her. She called her cell phone, wondering where she was, just to make sure she wasn't in an accident, that there wasn't something, wrong. And Savannah answered, but then hung up on her. But then immediately called her back on FaceTime, so her mother could see a video of where she was. Now, she said, I'll be home soon. Everything's fine. And she is in an SUV. It is sort of figured out that she's in the passenger seat of an SUV. There's a man driving, and there is one additional man in the back seat. One of the other men is in his own Chevy truck, perhaps following the SUV to the house in Girard County.
That she couldn't see that truck on the FaceTime.
No, but the truck was seen leaving the bar. That's how they figured out. The three men and Savannah, the three men from the video, left the bar at the same time. Three of them, including Savannah, and the two men in the SUV and one additional man in a truck following them. So Savannah's mother says that Savannah didn't seem under duress. She didn't seem stressed out, but she felt she was a little intoxicated. Makes sense. It's 2:33 in the morning. She stops short of saying, I think something was put in her drink. She doesn't go that far, but she does notice that Savannah is, slow to respond and, maybe slurring, and just she could tell something was off, but that she didn't pick up that she was upset or felt like she was in danger. None of that. But what she did notice is that the men in the SUV were quite aggressive on the video toward the mother, saying, chill, just chill out. She's fine. Just chill. Again, smart ass dudes kind of get it, kind of get it, right?
Well, yeah.
So if she feels her daughter isn't, upset or worried, maybe she, even though the guys were being smartasses, maybe she felt a tiny bit relaxed about the situation. So she says, I'll be home soon. And, that's that. Now, the next information is at 8:30 in the morning. And Savannah's phone has gone dead. And her mother knows that would not happen. That would never happen. Obviously, a 22-year-old mother of four lives her life on her phone, as most young people do. Some old people do. Some middle-aged people do. Probably some people that are dead have iPhones sent down to their graves and are playing with them. I don't know. So a lot of people are on their phones. And at 8:30 a.m., her mother realizes, look, she's not home. I don't know what's happening. She calls her best friend, Sabrina, who, was with her and had gone home. And she said her mother called me because she thought she was with me, but she's not, and her phone's dead. So everyone is now calling, and no one can get a hold of her. They immediately start proceedings for a missing persons report, which I have to say is really smart, because there's some sort of thing in the cosmos where, again, depending on law enforcement, I guess, they may talk you out of filing a missing persons report.
Aren't there some jurisdictions that say you have to wait like 24 hours or something?
That's what I'm trying to say. That's a complete and utter misnomer. There is no hard and fast rule anywhere on when you can file a missing persons report.
Okay, well, that's good to know.
You can show up 2 hours, if someone's 2 hours late from work, and if you live in Los Angeles, that's going to happen because of traffic. You can show up to your police station and say, I demand to file a missing persons report. And they may try to say, well, why don't you wait a little bit longer? But you can say, no, you know what? Fuck you. We're doing it now.
You hear, because I hear so many of these stories where the family members or whoever are saying the police told us we couldn't file a report.
Right.
Then that's just a lie? Complete lie?
It's not a lie. It's not a complete lie. What it is misinformation. And it's one of the things I want to talk about, because God forbid any of us find ourselves in this situation where a friend or loved one goes missing. But you don't have to wait. You also don't have to wait now with, social media to put out an official missing persons report by your police agency. If they're dragging their feet, if the person is over the age of 18, they tend to be a little more lackadaisical. If the person is male, a lot more lackadaisical. You can put out a missing persons report. You can put out I need your help finding this person right now on social media. And in some ways that gets across the country, your state, the world, faster than a police agency can get the word out. And that's just the God's honest truth. So I just want people to know, if you ever, God forbid, find yourself in this situation, and the Spurlock family galvanized and fucking kicked ass and took names and started right away. you can do that. You don't have to wait. You don't have to go by your police agency's jurisdiction, what they tell you. You can do this yourself. You just can. If they, say, we prefer you wait 24 hours or 48 hours, you can say that no. I mean,
it seems to me like this is what always drove me crazy about that. The people who are worried, they know if this person's missing because they know when they should have been where they were supposed to be, and there's no hard and fast rule. The fact that law enforcement takes this, any law enforcement agency would take the position, well, you really should give it more time. No, if you're the family member or loved one of this person, if they're missing or not. If they were supposed to be home an hour ago and they've always come home an hour within that hour, and this is the first time in 20 years that they haven't, well, then they're missing. Something's wrong, and they should trust you on that. I never understood that.
This is a really truthful statement that you're making, and I am trying to be Switzerland here because a large amount of missing persons cases get solved immediately. People come home, people have walked away to cool off or blow off steam. People have been pissed off and hidden themselves somewhere, usually not for a long period of time. A large amount of missing persons cases get solved quickly. And perhaps that is what most law enforcement agencies are weighing on the side of they'll come home. But just a small tale of what happened with Will Sarazan, the man still missing from our area. Two small tidbits. One is that his wife came home and every item that he owned was in the house. Phone, wallet, keys, truck, jacket. It's January. Only thing missing is Will. She waits for a few hours after trying to find him on her own and calls the police. They come and do a very, and I don't care how upset someone gets, a very bad cursory look. One sheriff's deputy looks badly. I'm just going to say badly. In fact, so much
really
so
badly.
Yeah, so much so there was an internal investigation, and I'm fairly sure she got, her knuckles wrapped, if nothing else, and just heartbreaking. And Linda Sarazan had to go to the sheriff's office the following day. So it is now, 18 hours after Will has been gone. And she is a tiny, frail person. And she literally had to pound her little fists on the sheriff's reception desk and say, someone has to come now. They went back to her house to take a full report, as the report taken the night before was, well, he's in the system now. That's all we can do. That was her entire answer to Linda. They came back 18 hours later to find blood spatter and evidence of a cleanup. And it took even a little longer to find video from a neighbor's cam.
To ask the neighbors for video. Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. No one asked. The neighbors volunteered. So anyway.
Oh, God.
So that's just one small story. And an addendum. I had mentioned in December, I believe, that remains were found not quite 2 miles as the crow flies from Will's house. And of a skull and most parts of most parts of the skeletal remains. And the coroner had said it would had potentially been there 2 years. And at the time, Will had been missing almost 2 years. And we found out just this week it was a man who had parked his car at a local restaurant, had mental health issues, and there's no evidence of any foul play. It's a short walk to the overgrown scrub area in the wash where he was found. And he had been missing 4.5 months. So when the coroner says it appears these remains are 2 years old and the remains are 4.5 months old and they are skeletonized, I don't think I believe anyone anymore. I don't believe anyone. We were up in arms thinking it was Will. I was lucky enough to get a hold of a kind medical examiner in the coroner's office who called me back immediately the first time to say, oh, the remains have been shipped to the state lab. It may be weeks, months, or years before we know. And then called me back 5 minutes later and said, I checked Will's NamUs page. It's not him. And I burst into tears on the phone. And he was such a kind, compassionate man. And you burst into tears because you're happy and then yet sad. You would like there to be an answer for a case, but you're happy that it isn't Will, and maybe he is still out there. So I feel like all I do is just come down on law enforcement with a giant mallet, and it's not what I'm trying to do, because for the most part, they do jobs that none of us would know how to do, and do it every day for not the amount of money they deserve. And I am very grateful for all of law enforcement, the good, the bad, and the ugly. But when cases like this happen and there are someone's dragging their feet to call it what it is, why, and maybe we'll never know, and maybe they just feel like it would compromise a case, why we can't have more information on the 3 men who were with her and last seen with her, the house that a family member of one of the men owns, evidence that she entered the home and no evidence she left the home. These are the things I'm thinking, how are these men not at least called a person of interest? So again, that's just going to be a rhetorical question that I can't answer. And it could just be jurisdictional. But I do want to say, if someone in your life goes missing, you can fucking make a missing persons report if they're 30 minutes late. I don't give a shit. You can do whatever you need to do to get the word out there. And the Spurlock family is a well-oiled machine at this point. And there has been some talk as to why they did a specific thing that they did. And I think it's very clear why they did it and how it worked out. And I just think this is a case of when and not if. I think this will get solved hopefully sooner than we think. So Savannah is last seen with these 3 men. There is GPS coordinates showing this house in Girard County where she was taken. The men all say that she left on her own. Don't know how that could have happened.
So the men are all admitting that, yes, she went to the house with them.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Sure did. They went, just to have a little extra after party. And, oh yeah, she left on her own. There's also very little released about their exact stories, how she left, why she left, what she left in, what did she take with her or not take with her.
They're just saying that she walked out the door around in the middle of the country somewhere.
In January with no coat and high heels. Uh-huh. In a very rural area.
And they're not describing them as persons of interest.
Nope.
I don't get it.
Yep.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. I don't, and maybe this will all come out and will be explained. But I can tell you law enforcement has taken some big hits. And I will say this in the most heartbreaking way. The Spurlock family has taken some hits on the, they've changed the name of the Facebook page to, I think, Missing Savannah, because the Find Savannah Spurlock page was inundated with horrible comments about how whatever happened to her, she deserved because she left a bar with 3 men.
You're kidding.
No. And in 2019, I would hope that the collective unconscious would be a little more open-minded and not judgmental. And I don't care if she left with 20 men carrying her on their shoulders like a football victory. She doesn't deserve to go missing, and she doesn't deserve to not be alive. So I was stunned, but I'm telling you, this family and their extended family and friends are really spectacular in the way that they have organized searches. They've had volunteers, and taken into consideration, she went missing in January. There are, private groups, public groups. Texas Equisearch has an Ohio chapter. They're looking for her. There's video of hundreds of people wrapped up like, snowmen, kicking snow out of the way, walking arm lengths apart in a grid over fields. The place that she was last supposed to have been in this home is very rural. And so many searches have been done. In the meantime, she has missed her 23rd birthday. She has missed her oldest son's birthday, and her family said she would move mountains to be there for her son's birthday.
Of course.
Her parents are obviously distraught. Her grandparents are not taking this well. Her grandfather has some health issues, and they're wanting to find her before he isn't here to know what happened to his granddaughter. Her family has banded together to raise her 4 sons. Her 4 sons that she has. So this family is really amazing. And some people have come down on what they've done. And I think it's brilliant. So at first they put out a reward for $10,000. And I just think at first I thought, why would they put parameters on it? And then thought, oh shit, that's fucking brilliant. They put out a $10,000 reward, her father did, and put a date on it of May 5th.
Oh, it was a deadline.
Yep.
Okay.
Give us a tip by this date, and we'll give you $10,000.
And they weren't asking for a conviction or anything, just a
Nope.
tip. Just a tip.
Yep. And her father, who is a sweet, kind, very emotional man who did not want to speak publicly about this until 3 or 4 months after, when it was clear no one was coming forward. He's the one who is, he says what we all know. There's 3 people involved. Somebody's going to break. There's 3 people who know where she is. Somebody's going to talk. And if you're a friend or you know one of these 3 men and you have information, it might be worth $10,000 to you to let someone know. And I believe he is absolutely correct that when there's more than one person involved, somebody's going to crack.
Makes total sense.
I feel it. I know he's right, and he's smart enough to know he's right. So that reward came and went, and I couldn't understand at first. I was stunned when I read there was a date. I was like, why would you only? And I was like, oh, because this is of a timely fashion. The sooner the information comes in, and the sooner they can find her. And if it, God forbid, is the worst possible scenario, the sooner you can find the more solid information, less time goes by that something could be, evidence could be degraded. I'm trying to say it in the nicest way possible.
Oh, you get better forensic evidence.
Yeah. The police have done something bizarre. I don't really get it, but they have highlighted in the video last scene of her leaving the bar, her purse. It's like a beige quilted leather pattern. It looks like it might be a Tory Burch purse. It has a long, like chain link kind of strap, like a longer strap to wear over your shoulder, or a crossbody purse. It's a small clutch bag. So, as her aunt said, she doesn't have her wallet with her. She just had probably some money and ID. And they've also highlighted a picture of her phone. So her phone and her purse Still images of those have been released, hoping if someone maybe finds them somewhere, sees them being used, that they can report that. It's interesting. It's odd.
It's not a bad idea.
No, I know. It's interesting. Everything about this case is different than anything else I've ever heard. So at the end of May, a new reward was set up by her father, and it's now $15,000. And I will be reading the legal terminology of the reward because it's brilliant. Again, this family, they have either fantastic, missing person gurus helping them, or consultants who are trying new and different things, because it's really fascinating. So volunteers who've been searching came up with another thing I've never seen, and yet I love it. And you want to talk organic and smart and interesting? They have placed tip boxes around Girard County.
That's very
boxes.
smart.
So smart, I can't even stand it. I can't stand it. They're locked tip boxes, and what they look like are those boxes you would see out in front of someone's home if it's for sale, with flyers in it, except this is the other way around. In front of the box is a laminated or glass-covered picture of Savannah and all of her information. She's 5'4", she's 140 pounds, she has brown eyes, she has shoulder length, kind of ombre, blonde brown hair. She has multiple tattoos. Here's what they say. There's a rose on her left shoulder. This is where she was last seen. This is what she was wearing. And these boxes are for anonymous tips. They are around Girard County, Price Court, one right on Price Court, which is where the location of the house where she was last seen. One on Fall Lick Road, which is on the South Flatwoods road sign. One on US 27 North. One on US 27 South. I mean, it's like they have placed anonymous tip boxes around the entire area where she was taken. If anyone in a small town knows something, is afraid of retribution from these one or more of these three men, instead of calling, instead of emailing, they can write something and put it in an anonymous tip box. I've never seen this, and I think it's just effing brilliant. I really do. I urge anyone who has a missing family member or loved one to consider thinking outside the box in a case like this.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
It's really brilliant.
You mentioned something about legal language that was on the
yes.
flyers.
So here we go. This is really well done. So as I said, the reward, and they're trying to make it just as clear as possible how you get the reward, and instead of it being dangled over anyone's head, like, oh, well, you got to do this, and then you got to appear in court, and you gotta, and who knows. This is amazing. So family, herein referred to as the makers, are offering up to $15,000, herein referred to as reward, for the first tip that leads directly to the safe return of Savannah Spurlock, or recovery of Savannah Spurlock's remains, or for the first tip that leads to the successful arrest and conviction of responsible person or persons, whichever occurs first and at the discretion of the makers. This reward does not have an expiration date, though the amount may be raised or lowered by the makers no earlier than December 17th, 2019. Wherefore the makers of this award desire to discover the whereabouts of Savannah Spurlock. Wherefore the makers do not promise or convey any warranty to any person or entity. Wherefore the makers of this offer shall always remain not liable for any or all loss or harm that may arise from any and all actions, activities, speech, thoughts, and all other possibilities of any person, entity, or company that proceeds in any manner or method in furtherance of this offer and reward. Wherefore, the purposes of this award are to incentivize assistance from the public and other entities to assist in procuring and reporting of relevant and useful information that leads to the discovery of the whereabouts of Savannah Spurlock. Number 1, reward specifics. Tip must be given directly to law enforcement officials, law enforcement, and persons with any involvement in her disappearance or are not eligible for reward. If no tip given but found by professional search and rescue teams, monies will be donated to that specific organization. If no tip given but found by non-professionals, that person or individuals present at moment of discovery will share the reward money. Reward monies will be paid from the personal finances of Cecil Spurlock, that is Savannah's father, $11,000, and the Savannah Spurlock Fund, managed by her aunt, Lisa Toma, of $4,000. Number 2, amount of reward and disclaimers of warranty and liability. Total reward amount is limited to $15,000 and is not a promise for performance. Reward does not represent an inducement or acceptance of contract or performance of services. Reward amount and amount awarded will be given per those terms only and if any situation arises that is outside the terms of this reward amount. The makers of the reward shall retain full power and authority to decide a pro rata or division of funds without guarantee or warranty and without liability. Makers of reward shall not be liable for any damages, harm, or loss of any company or individual that does any action or thought of process towards the stated purpose of this reward. Makers of reward shall have full indemnity and accept no responsibility for financial loss and any other harm that may or may not occur in furtherance of this reward and its persons.
Well, you know, that's really brilliant that they obviously hired legal counsel to make it absolutely clear who is going to get the reward, how it works, that there's no doubt about anything. And it also protects the family too. It's really a good idea. I think it's that's something I've never seen in any of these kinds of cases, and I think it's really very, very smart.
I think it's brilliant because just having a small amount of experience with the candlelight vigil for Will Sarazan and knowing the reward had started at $10,000 from the city of Santa Clarita, and then it was doubled by an anonymous donor to $20,000, it brings out potentially people you don't ever want to come in contact with who just want to try and find someone for money. And it was uncomfortable, and they asked questions like what condition does he have to be in? And I thought, well, if you know something, tell us, does it, so they have left no stone unturned explaining who and how you get the reward. And yet it is still loose enough that if cockroaches come out of the hiding to leave a tip that finds Savannah, they'll still get reward money. I hope they would donate it back to her sons or to an organization for missing persons. But, not everybody is going to, be on the same page. But they've also done something else I think is brilliant. You can talk about a case. You can look at posters, at flyers. They have made window clings that fit into back windows of cars, and they are handing them out for free. And when you drive around during your day and hundreds, maybe even thousands of people see a picture of someone, it reminds them of something. It triggers something in their memory bank. Maybe she's, alive somewhere.
They are obviously sparing no expense here to do this.
They are really, but these things are amazingly smart. The anonymous tip boxes, the window clings for the cars, you can pick them up at the libraries, at the Lexington Library, the Richmond Library, and the Lancaster Library in Girard County. So, they're everywhere that she was supposed to have been. It's really brilliant. So we do have an audio clip of her Aunt Lisa, but before we play that, a quote from her aunt that says, "We feel strongly that someone local knows the truth, and we would like them to see her face as often as possible. So if you have a window cling, we find that putting a piece of white paper behind her name and the police phone numbers helps the writing stand out, and you can see it better. And hashtag Savannah strong." And that's really, what they're holding on to. And her aunt says, please, if you know something, go to the police station, tell them what you know, leave a tip in the anonymous tip boxes. There's lots of places you can go, and nothing will come back to you if you're afraid. And you have lots of options to be brave. So can you play that audio clip?
I will. This is a clip from Inside Edition from May of this year.
Her family says they don't believe she would just walk away from her life.
In terms of Savannah potentially running away, we just don't think that's the case. Savannah had very little money. She had her stiletto high heels on. She had no coat. She didn't have her wallet. She just had a tiny satchel purse. And all of her decisions that night seemed to be very spontaneous.
None of the men have been named as suspects or charged in connection with Savannah's disappearance. Her family is hoping they won't have to wait much longer for someone to come forward with the information they need to find her.
And she had been going through a rough time, and she had such hopes to build a life for her and her family.
Savannah Spurlock would now be 23 years old. She is 5'4" and weighs about 140 pounds. She has brown eyes, brownish blonde hair, and multiple tattoos. Anyone with information is urged to contact the Richmond Police Department in Kentucky.
We need her back. We need that smile. We need that vivacious, funny person back in our lives.
And the thing that her aunt says that is so beautiful and applies to everyone who's missing: she's worthy of being found. She's worthy of us looking for her. And that is absolutely true. She is worthy. If you know something, be brave. And more cowbell.
And remember, if you'd like to become a patron of the podcast, go to patreon.com/Just the Tipsters. And remember to subscribe, rate, and review at Apple Podcasts or wherever you can find podcasts. Thanks for listening.